was first becoming a welder and fabricator and I was just starting out, I was not aware of most of these things I'm going to be covering here today. If you prefer death over living, well then this video ain't for you, because this is for people who want to melt metal without melting their face off. In this video, I'm going to go over some of the dangers and hazards of welding and how not to die while welding, and how not to become the Nazis from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So make sure to stick around and watch this whole video, because you got to know all the potential hazards and dangers before you strike that first arc. So if you're new here, you might be wondering, who the heck is this guy? Well, I'm Luke, and I'm just a certified welder and fabricator that's been around the trade for a while, and I'm here to help beginners and inexperienced welders out there grow their skills and knowledge of the trade. So if that's you, stick around. How I want to split this up so we stay organized is I want to put all the internal dangers over here. That's stuff that can kill you from the inside out. And over here, we're going to put our external dangers, and that's things that can happen to us externally. Now, I'm not going to go into too much like common sense dangers, like dropping a piece of metal on your toe. Yeah, that little piggy didn't go to market that day. Cuts, burns, bruises, Battlestar Galactica. Or if you look like Nick Fury because you weren't wearing your safety glasses when you should have been. It goes without saying, when you're working with flaming hot sparks that are flying at you 100 miles an hour and you're melting metal together with molten lava, liquid metal, PPE is always 100% necessary to keep you protected. So things like safety glasses, steel toe boots, gloves, pants, long sleeves, preferably FR. And no, FR does not stand for real, man, that was totally rad, bro. Stands for flame retardant. Bottom line, just use your head and wear your proper PPE. And I don't really recommend welding without a shirt on. Definitely not speaking from experience. All right, to start us off, this is probably the biggest one that I had no idea about when I was first starting to learn how to weld. And if I would have used this one thing, this would have literally killed me or permanently messed me up bad. And this is chlorinated brake cleaner. If you use chlorinated brake cleaner to clean and prep your metal before you weld on it, prepare to weld yourself into the afterlife. So when you use this to clean the metal, it leaves a little residue on it, and then when you go to weld over top of the metal, it burns off that residue and creates this gas, which is called phosgene gas, which was used in World War I back in the day as a chemical warfare agent, which is, yeah, used to kill people. So this is something you definitely want to stay away from if you want to live. So you're probably wondering, well, what should I use to clean my metal with? Just use acetone or alcohol. Those are the safest options. I would just stick with those. I've used non-chlorinated brake cleaner for years now and never had an issue. But if you're unsure if it's chlorinated or non-chlorinated, just stick with those two, alcohol and acetone, and you'll be safe. Now, if you've ever been at a campfire before or around a bonfire and you're sitting around it all night and it seems like the wind is always not in your favor, where it's just blowing the smoke right at you and you're just trying to move your chair around and trying to avoid the smoke the whole night so you're not just inhaling smoke the entire night. I'm usually that guy that the smoke's always blowing on, just happens to blow in my direction every time. It pisses me off. Now, if you're one of those freaks that just stands there and just takes the campfire smoke and just inhales and just loves it, or if you're just a chain smoker that doesn't give a rip about your health, then you can skip over this section. The way I think about welding and smoke is that it's kind of like a campfire. So if you're standing around it and little smoke blows your way for a short amount of time, you'll be fine. Like a little bit of smoke here and there, you'll be just fine. But if you're at the fire or whatever and the smoke's coming at you and you're just inhaling it all day, every day, like that's when it can become an issue. Same goes with welding. If you're just sitting there inhaling the smoke all day, every day, like that's when it can become an issue. Now, I've worked with all the old timers that all say, oh, I've breathed in this stuff for years and never had an issue. Meanwhile, they're over there hacking up a lung, smoking a pack a day. And they're usually the guys that they walked uphill both ways to school and there's always somehow 10 feet of snow on the ground. So it's all on how you look at it. Some guys think it's fine, whatever, don't give a rip. Some guys, this is the end of the world, it's gonna kill you, like. But in general, fumes and smoke aren't great for you, and I don't know where you can find where it says they are good for you, so I try to stay away from it as best I can. I try to avoid it and throw in a mask. And if you have those fancy smoke eater machines, use those things too, just to get that smoke away from you. And yeah, there is a lot of very nasty coatings out there, like galvanized, and there's things painted with lead paint on it, like older stuff that has, you don't know what kind of surface paint they used back in the day, or any sort of coating that you don't know what's burning off. Like, you probably shouldn't be breathing that in. Just putting that out there. Especially, I know with like galvanized, definitely get sick from that if you breathe too much of that in. So try to avoid that as much as you can. And these fumes, like after a while, they can, like, I know a lot of people do struggle with later on in life, like lung cancer and all kinds of bad stuff that could kill you. So like, just try to avoid these as much as you can. So that kind of leads me into my next point, is confined spaces. Now, this is more for if you're actually doing this full time and you're out in the field working in tanks or any sort of confined space. You always want to make sure that you have a good supply of air, fresh air, into whatever space you're working into, and always have people around you looking inside the tank at you, making sure that you're okay and you don't have an issue. The last thing you want is to breathe your last breath on the job stuck in one of these confined spaces or tanks. And I've heard of so many stories of people dying in tanks and confined spaces because of poor oxygen levels, and people barely escaping death because of poor air quality and fumes. So fumes and air quality can be a serious issue when it comes to confined spaces. So since you're working with fire, obviously anything flammable is a death wish. So if you're doing any welding work on repairing car frames or truck frames, whatever, or any sort of welding work underneath a vehicle like that has like a gas tank right next to you, or fuel lines that go right next to you, like that's just, obviously just stay away from that. And if you need to do work in that area, cover that with like a welding blanket, or just drop the tank, get out of the way. Like, it's just really important to stay safe, and especially like that when it's like right near you, like right on top of you. Like if that thing takes off, it's basically like a rocket ship taking off and you're underneath it. When it comes to repairing gasoline metal tanks, I would just recommend not doing it and just buying a new one. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, the money you save trying to do it yourself, it's just not worth the risk that it puts you in. And just, if it needs to be repaired, just have a professional do it, or somebody that is very well equipped, that has the right equipment to do that and knows what they're doing. Even me, like, I've had a lot of experience repairing like diesel tanks and that kind of stuff. I would never, just personally, just never touch a gasoline tank, just for that reason, it just has so many dangers just waiting to happen. It's just not worth it to me. Like, I just wouldn't take the job if it were me. Now, I've done a lot of diesel tanks over the years and repaired a lot of them. Diesel is different. Diesel is very different. It's not as flammable as gasoline is, because diesel, for it to combust and ignite, you need two things. You need pressure and you need heat. So if you take any of those things out of the equation, it's not going to happen. Like, it doesn't ignite. I remember one time repairing a diesel tank on a skid steer on a job site one time, and I remember for some reason we couldn't drain all the diesel out for some reason, and I had to do the repair with diesel in the tank yet, which is not really ideal. Usually if you do a repair like that, always drain all the diesel out as much as you can, then make sure there's enough airflow going through it, it's not compressed or sealed off. I remember welding the tank and hearing the diesel boil inside the tank, because I was welding with diesel right on the other side of the tank. You can do it. You can have heat right next to diesel, but as long as it's not sealed off and it's vented properly and it doesn't build pressure in there, that is super key to not having it blow up in your face. So another thing that people don't really think about is aerosol cans. So usually anything in an aerosol can like that is flammable. So if you have that on your table right next to it, it's pretty much like a bomb just sitting right there waiting for the right spark to come in and ignite it. So if you want to live, I would just stay away from flammable stuff. Try to keep that stuff away from your welding so you don't have an issue. Now, since you're working with a light that's brighter than the sun, any exposed skin is going to be redder than Bob the Tomato, speaking from experience. What I've not experienced, actually, fortunately, is arc flash. So I've never heard about this one. It's basically your eye getting sunburnt, and it's actually way more painful than it sounds. So from what I've heard, it's basically like rubbing sandpaper in your eyes. So picture your eyeball, piece of sandpaper, and it's just rubbing your eyeball all night long, and you can't sleep. Comes around like midnight or 1 a.m. or something around there, and it's just, you can't sleep. It's just rubbing your eyeball all night. It sucks. That's another reason why you should wear safety glasses, because even though it's just like a clear lens on your glass and you don't really think it blocks much of the light, it actually does block like UV rays, so your eyes won't get sunburned. Let's say you look at a weld and somebody's welding with safety glasses on. When you look up, you'll be definitely seeing stars, but you won't get arc flash because that's blocking that UV rays that comes off the weld puddle light. So the only time you get arc flash is when you get hit with those UV rays with your naked eye and there's nothing covering your eye. And that'll get you every time. That'll burn the heck out of your eyeball. So another dangerous part about welding that people don't really think about is that bottle of gas that you use for TIG and MIG applications. I've seen videos of people getting seriously wrecked by one of these bottles from not handling them properly. I seen this video of this one guy unscrewing his regulator from his argon bottle, and he never closed the valve on the top to shut off the couple thousand PSI coming off of the argon bottle. And he unscrewed on the last thread. That sucker shot off like a bolt of lightning and scared the heck out of him, I'm sure, and almost took his face off. Another video I seen was this freestanding bottle of argon or whatever it was, and it had a regulator on it with a little hose coming out of it to wherever the guy was welding at. And I guess the guy forgot to strap up the bottle to something so it wouldn't fall, and he pulled on the hose accidentally, tipping this bottle over and broke off the regulator on it or the valve on it, and this bottle shot off because these things are filled with thousands of PSI of gas. Thing shot off and just wrecked everything in its path. So the saying, stay strapped to get clapped, really applies to that scenario. So bottom line, just use your head and just realize and understand that you're working with a bottle that has thousands of PSI in it, and just handle it properly, guys. So with welding, the actual process of it involves electricity. So you might be wondering, can this shock me? And the answer to that is yes. This thing is a little bit precarious. This thing is cheap as dirt. Anyway, so the most common way of getting shocked through welding, this happens to me all the time, especially in the summertime when I'm soaking wet, my gloves are wet, and I'm trying to weld, especially with high frequency. High frequency, I feel like, is what shocks me the most. And what it's from is basically your gloves are wet. I'll go into a little bit here. So basically what happens, so how this high frequency starts, when you initiate that foot pedal, it's trying to find a ground. So I don't know if you've ever seen it before. If you forget to hook up your ground clamp and you have your foot pedal ready and your torch ready and you press your foot pedal, you'll actually see a little bolt of electricity coming from your tungsten to your workpiece, trying to find a ground somewhere to initiate that arc. And this is when you really get zapped with the high frequency because you don't have a ground set up, and so it's trying to find a ground. And when your hands are on that workpiece that it's trying to find the ground on, it's basically just like a taser and just tasing you and just shocking you. Like I said, so the basic fix for that is just switch out your gloves, and so then that water and sweat doesn't make you part of the circuit. Now, stick welding, I haven't really had as many issues with getting shocked. It's just that high frequency with TIG, I've had a lot of issues with getting shocked. With stick welding, MIG welding, I haven't really got that many. So every now and then you'll get shocked a little bit here and there, but it's really not that bad. So the question is, can you die from the shock? And the answer to that is yes. Basically, since water is a great conductor of electricity, if you're working out in the summertime and you're soaking wet head to toe and shirts are wet, gloves are wet, everything's just soaking wet, you now have a greater chance of being part of the circuit of welding. So how this works, and basically how welding works, is you have your ground clamp coming from your machine, your stinger coming from your machine. So to burn this rod off, you basically need to connect your negative and positive together to create a spark that burns this rod. So you need to touch your rod on your workpiece that you're grounded to create this whole circuit. So what happens is when you're soaking wet, you can actually be part of that circuit. So how this works is if your workpiece is grounded right here and your hand is touching that workpiece, your hand is soaking wet, your gloves are soaking wet, your whole body is soaking wet. If you accidentally touch this to any exposed skin on your body, whether it be your head, your neck, wherever, you can now complete that circuit from here going all the way down to your workpiece. So now you're frying your brains, heart, wherever is a part of that circuit. So usually you're not trying to strike an arc off your face, but it can happen, and I've heard of stories of it happening and literally killing people. So it is possible. It's rare, but it's possible. Everything, like I said, all the conditions have to be right. And like I said, if you just did that right now and you were dry, like nothing would complete that circuit. It's that moisture and that sweat on your skin, everything that all plays a role in completing that circuit and shocking you. Just try to switch out your gloves when they get soaking wet, and just keep an extra set on hand so one set's drying while you're using the one set, and you can just switch out. And always try to have a dry set of gloves, so that takes away the possibility of you being a part of that circuit and getting shocked. So along those lines of sweating, in the summertime, welding can be absolutely brutal because you're working with fire and everything's hot that you're working with, and then there's hot around you, sun, and you're just have all your gear on, you're sweating your nuts off. Like this is absolutely brutal in the summertime. So just gotta stay hydrated, guys, because if you don't stay hydrated, you could get a heat stroke and you actually could die from that. And so that is just something you just want to avoid. Now, I'm no health expert, but what I like to do is I like to throw some sort of electrolyte powder in my gallon jug of water, because if you're just drinking just straight water and nothing else, like you're actually diluting the electrolytes in your body. You're not actually replenishing your body with anything that you're sweating out. So I like to have some sort of electrolyte powder that's replacing all those electrolytes that I'm sweating out. Now, there's so many electrolyte powders out there, and I like to stick to the ones that don't have any sugar or other crap in it. I like to stick to the ones that have good stuff in it for you and nutrients and stuff that your body needs, because your body is just absolutely dumping out stuff when you're sweating and you're working hard out in the summertime, and you need to replace all that stuff that your body is just sweating out. And believe me, you'll feel a ton better when you do that, and you'll be able to get through those long hot days, and it'll keep your energy up to get through the workday. I know the electrolyte powders are usually flavored too, so then once they're flavored, it tastes good, so then I drink more, and that keeps me hydrated and feeling better, and so it's a win-win overall. Alrighty, so this is just like a little list of things that I came up with here to look out for when you're welding so you don't die. So if I missed anything, or if you guys have any other potential dangers, just throw them in the comments so we can help these new guys stay alive. As always, if you guys have any questions at all, or topics you want me to cover in the welding industry, just throw them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them as best I can. And with that being said, hope you guys liked the video, and we'll see you in the next one.